The problem I'm focused on is how do we as business owners experience freedom? How do we get out of the weeds, out of the day-to-day firefighting, out of the operational details and administrivia that can completely tank your quality of life? You as entrepreneurs have one role more important than any other: creating an opening. You create an opening each time you come up with a new product. Having that vision for where you want to get and what's possible if you freed up time is a big part of how entrepreneurs go from practitioners. A practitioner is like a one-person shop to entrepreneurs where you're building some kind of enterprise. Keeping your ears open is what I would call, from one strategist to another, a bad strategy. If you are genuinely looking to replace yourself in strategy, there are creative ways of structuring roles, especially for people who are inclined strategically. Some people need a paycheck today, and that characterizes most of the world, right? That sounds like it's not going to be your hire. Everyone is a salesperson. Everyone's selling themselves for a price. That price is called a salary. Entrepreneurs defer their pay until they get paid by a client. Instead of scattergun, think about taking a high-powered telescopic rifle, setting your sight. What does that practically mean? It's high probability selling. It means you're spending the vast majority of your time actually qualifying a prospect until you discipline and hone that definition so well that you are forced to figure out where you create epic value. So much so that it's hard for the right client, the right prospect to say no. So gang, thank you for joining. Good to see you guys. My name's Josh Klenoff, and I've been an entrepreneur since the start. I understand you guys are solopreneurs. So at this point, most of you, or maybe all, are just one-person operators. I relish and love the stage you guys are at. It's precious. So I've built a bunch of businesses. I've been an entrepreneur since like very, very early in. I walked the halls of Wharton with Elon Musk. We were classmates, and he's made a little bit more money. But I'm working on a problem that is much, much more important, I believe, for me and people like you than something like landing on Mars. The problem I'm focused on is how do we as business owners experience freedom? How do we get out of the weeds, out of the day-to-day firefighting, out of the operational details and administrivia that can completely tank your quality of life? I've lived that for so long, so long. That's what I want to get into with you here today. A little bit of background. 25 years ago, I met a guy named Marshall Goldsmith. He's the author. People have called him the best executive coach in the world. He's in the world of executive coaching. He's like the man. He was my mentor, then my partner. He wrote a book called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And I wrote a book about 10 years ago called The System: How Companies Get Their Shit Together. So that's where I've focused my energy, helping medium-sized companies scale up and not sell their souls as they're growing. A lot of companies, they become body shops. They start piling in people as cheap as they can get them. They don't have a sense for what it means to have cohesiveness, to have clarity of vision across the entire team, things that ultimately help a company grow. So that's what I focused on. 3 years ago, something weird happened. I got a call from one of my clients. He says, "Josh, I love your assistant." I said, "Whoa, easy." He said, "I want you to help me find an assistant just like her." I said, "I'd love to help you, but I can't. That's not our business. We don't do staffing. We don't do recruiting." He said, "Josh, I'm losing my mind. I tried hiring a couple people. They didn't work out. I don't know how to do this." All right. Talked to my team. I said, "Can we free up our recruiter? We had an in-house recruiter. I said, can we help this guy out? We help him out. About a week passes. I get another call. Someone says, I can't believe you hooked up Elon. You helped him find an executive assistant. You're not helping me. Like, can you help me? I said, oh my God. Long story short, the business was born. I realized this is something that absolutely changes people's lives, not just for me, for Elon, for any business owner that doesn't have an assistant. So we started a business and it's grown quite significantly. So that's where I've focused my life. And what I want to share with you guys is how magical, how game changing this can be, and also why we don't delegate. Why do we not change our lives by elevating ourselves and delegating things to others? And it's not as simple as, yeah, I can't afford it. So that's what we're going to cover here today. I'm guessing that part of the reason you guys started a business was for freedom. That's what attracted me to entrepreneurship. And often it's the last thing you've got, especially if you're a solopreneur. I don't know. Let's hear from part of my screen's covered. Rafat, let's hear from you. Are you experiencing freedom? Are you drowning in day-to-day tasks? What's your life like?
Hi. That's a
Hi.
great question. Um, I'll say that I'm drowning because it's not because of my digital marketing agency, but my full-time job right now. So I'm kinda in the midst of doing both, and the goal is ultimately it'd be wonderful to I don't know why my video looks like that, sorry, but
It's perfect.
but, um yeah, so, that's kinda where I'm at right now, just trying to figure out the 2 and, bridge that gap. Ultimately, would like to have that freedom that you described and be able to travel the world and work from wherever. Um, but I don't know how long it's gonna take me to get there.
I don't either, but it's gonna take less at the end of hour, half hour, or whatever we got together. So let's dive in. Okay. There's a calculation that you need to do. And you is not just how do you pronounce your name? Rafat?
Yeah, that's correct.
Rafat? It's for everyone. How much is your time worth? So I want you guys to put pencil to paper or think this through. There are many ways to calculate this, but ultimately there's a number. It's a number you put on an hour. How much, how much is your hour worth? So you don't need to shout it out. You don't need to share it. But I'm going to ask you guys to do whatever writing you got to figure this out. I looked at the revenue my company generates on a yearly basis. Then I looked at how many days I work, how many hours I work, basically figure out, okay, every hour therefore contributes top line that much. If I were to put in one incremental hour, one more, I could drive that much more top line, that much more sales, that much more revenue to my business. And for me, that was the number. There are different ways to get there, but just shout out when you've got it. Say got it so I know that we can move on and we're there. But I'm not going to ask you to share it. You can keep that private. And so if Rafat, knowing what I do about you, I'm going to ask you to focus on an hour with your business, not on your day job. That's going to be the relevant number here. How much is each hour of yours worth for your own business, not for the day job where you're getting a salary? The next question I'm going to ask you guys is how much would you be prepared to pay someone to delegate tasks to them, assuming they could take it on? How much would you be prepared to pay someone to take on the stuff you're doing? Now, let me give a little bit of background into that. So, if you can imagine, you free up, let's just say someone can handle your emails or, stuff that takes a couple hours a day, and that's 10 hours a week. What would 10 hours a week let you do? Maybe you go whale hunting for some big clients and you bring in a big, big account, right? And maybe that's worth, uh, you know, it's worth $100 an hour of your time, right? To go do that. So how much would you be willing to pay someone to free up, that time? If in 1 week you can bring in a client and that's worth, $1,000 to you, $100 an hour, would you be willing to pay someone 20, 30, 40? So what are you willing to pay to free up that time? And I'm not going to twist any arms, no pressure. But if anybody's comfortable sharing that number, I'd be curious to hear what you've got. Feel free to shout it out. What would you genuinely be comfortable paying someone if they could take on tasks of yours?
20.
$20 sounds eminently reasonable. So let's roll with that number. There's one thing I've seen in common with people who actually dig themselves out of what I'd call like this perpetual firefighting mode. And it's a genuine hatred of time waste. Not like they dislike time waste, because most people prefer not to waste time, but they freaking hate it. Like they cannot stand it. So, of those of you here, how many of you feel like you have that deep allergic aversion to time waste? Three. Okay. So, three people. So, there's hope. There's hope. I think we can get there if you genuinely hate that. Let's talk about what people are generally looking for when they're trying to delegate. They're looking for someone they can trust. Because if you're gonna drop something into someone's lap, if you're gonna delegate it, you've got to trust they're going to be able to do it. Otherwise, you're not going to delegate. You're going to hold on to everything for dear life. So in all practicality, you need an A player so that you're not spending as much time micromanaging and surveilling them as you are if you were to just do it yourself. So that's someone who's going to take initiative. It's someone who's accountable, and it's probably someone who's got some attention to detail. So they're not sending out sloppy messages. They're not creating errors and more headaches and work for you and all that. Why then? Assuming that there's a lot of these people out there, that's my business, so I know there are. Why do you think people don't delegate? And let me ask you guys, why do you think, for Mike, Rafat, Abilene, all of you, why do you think you haven't delegated more?
Shout it out.
Let's just shout it out. Mike, let's start with you. What say you? Haven't
So I've in the beginning, I was really reluctant to delegate because I just didn't trust that the team was going to, bring their A game, so to speak. And I say that because I did trust in like way when I was just starting out, I went and I try to find A players, what I thought were A players, and then they turn out to be not so good. And so clients were lost. So I quickly just kind of like, I was like, no. I gotta control this more. Um, so yeah, so it's more of like not trusting and not, perhaps not finding the quality people that I could actually pay. So it was more of like I didn't have the funds to pay the A players, so I was trying to find the best that I could do with. It was a startup, so like bootstrapping everything. So, but not trusting the team. Yeah, I was just trying to like just control everything as much as possible so I could be on top of it. The output.
totally understand. Totally understand. Um, and what kinds of so it sounds like some account management was what you were looking for help with. Is that right?
Um, Account management, I'm pretty good at, so I was doing that a lot, and I'm still doing that now. But no, I'm not talking about like doing it actual fulfillment of the tasks, like the work that needs to be done, whether it's SEO or managing the Google ads, like specifically those things. Individual people were in charge of those, and as time went on, you discover like, okay, they're not as good as you thought they were. So maybe kind of constantly be involved in every little thing to make sure that they are doing high quality work.
Okay, gotcha. And have you designed any assessments to, and not like fancy academic kinds of things, but just like a simulation, right? You walk them through a real scenario or certain skills tests. Have you designed anything that might help you assess a candidate up front to de-risk it so that you can figure out day 0 instead of day 100 that someone's not a fit for the role?
Great idea. I've thought about it, but no, I have not given them specific like scenarios and stuff to test them now.
Okay. I mean, I'll tell you, this is the business we're in now, and it's a business we're in, and our clients love us because we basically have that burst of mental energy, and it's not rocket science. I mean, it really isn't. It does take that burst of mental energy, and that's, for a lot of business owners, genuinely, it's the hardest thing in the world because it means you've got to take a step back when you're designed and wired genetically, probably, if you're an entrepreneur, to just plow forward, to just move through things. And taking a step back, so like the bumper sticker, I may be lost, but at least I'm making great time. Like, that's the way a lot of entrepreneurs roll. They just want to freaking move, right? But if you can take that step back, it is, I've got scenario. Okay. So if you can take that step back and think about the likeliest fault points, the likeliest failures, then assess those. That's something that has helped us mint, like, just generate A players for our clients. That's a big part of it. Okay. Um, let's hear what else is on people's minds. Karen, are you there? What?
Ellie asked a question in the chat as well.
You know what? We can do that. I want to I want to get some color commentary though. And I'm gonna have to, like, pull more out. Like, Mike, you were sharing some good stuff. What what's a reason someone else here isn't delegating more? Karen, are you there? Abilene, are you still there?
I am here. Yes.
All right. What's the reason you haven't delegated?
Um, I mean, for me, I even if people I've met in person, quality people, and I would say like, they have a drive, like they like to work. I've put these I guess positions to just do basic stuff like sending invoices, responding to clients, sending reminder text messages, like just more personalized for my clients. I've offered and they just don't take it. And then I don't I've offered them the job to be like an assistant
Mhm.
part time, and they don't take it. I mean, to two ladies, I'm not gonna say I've been hunting crazy. But if I come across a quality person, I'm like, hey, I mean, I know you're just, I work at home, just a stay-at-home mom, and the kids are older. Would you be interested in a part-time? But um I haven't gone through I to be honest, I haven't just focused on looking for somebody. I like you said, we just take care of it. I just
Mhm.
do it. And I mean, like, if I'm cooking, I'm like, I could just send an email while I'm cooking, you know? So it's just that kind. But of course, when the quality of service increases, I have that time to look for more clients so I can see where that could keep me stagnant and just keep me from growing. And I absolutely understand that. It's just quality people that I am looking for, because I'm like, these skills, these things are so basic that I can
Let me
teach them, you know?
ask you a question.
Mhm.
What single activity drives your success more than any other? Like sales and bringing in new clients, or?
relationships with people. Like, I think that that goes a long way when I meet somebody, and then like just my time with people out there meeting somebody. And then I think that's the only thing that has helped my business grow.
So if you were to free up 10 hours a week
Right.
and put that into that activity of meeting people, how much do you think that would help you expand?
How much? How do I quantify that? I don't know.
Like
Or
a
how do
little,
I?
a
A
medium,
lot. Yeah.
a
I
lot.
think
That's
yeah.
we don't need a number. That's good. A lot. So
Yes.
sounds like it sounds like you you've gotten basically this homeostasis, fancy word for in like, look, I'm all right with how things are. Like the status quo,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
that's
Just
easy change.
surviving.
Yeah, like you're surviving, right? So that's great. The thing is, if like Spider-Man would like shoot that web like and like he'd pull himself to it. You that's that's a big part of how entrepreneurs create their reality, how we create our reality. It starts with an idea. Like maybe you've got this idea now, 10 hours. I could be doing half $1,000,000 of business or whatever that number is. And you see that with a level of clarity and insistence. You want it. And then you to get there, you instead of like waiting for these two women, you post a job, right? You say,
Yeah.
here's what I need. And you crystallize the job and you say, here's exactly what I need. And you vet hard for the job. So instead of taking the first person that's good enough, you look for better than just good enough. These are the kinds of things that follow from clarity and the insistence. But I think having that vision for where you want to get and what's possible if you freed up time is a big part of how entrepreneurs go from practitioners. A practitioner is like a one-person shop to entrepreneurs where you're building some kind of enterprise. Right, and I'm surrounded by, like, doctors or lawyers or whatever, like, professionals in my life. Most of them don't have an entrepreneurial bone in their body. They're comfortable just, like, billing per hour but then there are people who are like, "Huh, what if they ask that question and they're able to answer it juicy enough that they actually create the reality?" And that's something that separates us as entrepreneurs. And so I don't know if in your voice I kind of heard that that conviction. It was kind of like, yeah, look, and I get it. Look, my wife survives. That's like, right? Like she's in that mode. I get it. But like she's also managed to create an epic kind of let's just say success. So both can be possible. But I do empathize with that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Dominique, what say you? What's keeping you back from delegating more?
Hello. Yeah, so I have I don't, what I've noticed is I don't have a problem delegating the mundane stuff, the routine things every day. I notice I start to clutch for control when it comes to the strategy work, the high level work, which I also want to hire myself out of one day.
Mhm.
And so that's the part where I'm like still kind of clutching because of the fact that when you're talking about strategists or high level thinkers in that way, everyone has a unique way in which they do what they want to do to
Yeah.
get to the results that they want to get to. But does it work with the systems or the methodologies that I've built over the years or have instituted in the agency over time? And can clients get that same type of experience of working with whoever the strategist will be,
Mm,
um, the same way that I have cultivated that customer experience over the years. And so that's the part where that's like hiring wise, that's kind of like the biggest mirror that I constantly have to keep looking in. It's like if you want to hire this out, you are going to have to let this rein go. Even though I have hired on it recently as a marketing strategist.
Yeah.
But even with that, I'm more on the branding, brand strategy side, overseeing all of our projects that way. And so brand strategy, that's like the biggest mirror for me. And VAs can only go but so high from my experience in terms of level of
I got
execution.
Is strategizing the greatest impact activity you can execute for the business, or is there something even more valuable than that?
Oh, yeah, definitely more valuable, which is why I want to hire myself out eventually. But as of
What's the
right
most
now,
what's the most valuable? What's the most valuable activity for you?
it is being of the voice for the company.
Okay.
The speaking and the outreach and
Yeah.
really helping to deliver that messaging and inspire that helping other entrepreneurs and things of that nature that funnels into the agency that I've been doing. That's
Okay.
really where I want to like live, eat, sleep.
Okay. I gotcha. Have, yeah. Have have you in earnest searched out a strategist?
I've kept my ears open, and there are people that
That
I
was okay.
have
That
tapped
would be
into,
to
but I
just
haven't
anticipate
pulled the
that answer, that
trigger.
would be a
Yeah.
big no. Okay.
I
No,
haven't pulled the
when
trigger,
when
but they're out there.
Melanie, when I'm sharing something I believe is important and a teammate of mine says, "Oh, all right, I'll keep that in mind." I say, "No, no, no, that deserves to be kept on paper or in a task because we are fallible, we humans." Okay, so yeah, like keeping your ears open is what I would call from one strategist to another a bad strategy if you are genuinely looking to replace yourself in strategy. Now, I also hear that that's going to cost more than the VA you're prepared to hire at this point. Totally get it. So, there are creative ways of structuring roles, especially for people who are inclined strategically. Some people need a paycheck today, and that characterizes most of the world, right? That sounds like it's not going to be your hire because you're probably going to need to pay someone more if they're giving the worthy strategies than anything in the realm of a VA. But someone like that, if you can create the demand, if you can bring the business, is going to be used up very effectively. A lot of strategists are squandering their talent. A lot of for everyone here, if you're looking for higher level help, a lot of higher level value add people, they're just their talent and their interests are going to waste. And I see it because now we've got a staffing company. And it's amazing how many hungry, smart people are out there totally fired up to work, and it's miserable not to be used up for a good purpose each day. They would love to jump in to a role where they could capture the value they're adding, even if it's not today. If you set it up so that when you collect cash from the client, they collect cash, then it's a win-win. So I would invite you to think about structuring, not masterminding this in a back room now. Find the person. And then when you're talking with them, co-create a relationship that works. Most people, if I can be a little crude, they suck at win-win, right? And win-win is a phenomenally elegant opening. You as entrepreneurs have one role more important than any other, creating an opening. You create an opening each time you come up with a new product. Right now, it's like you gotta find people to like fill that void and take advantage of that product or service you've got. When you have demand from a client for a service and you don't have enough people to staff it up and deliver, you've got a void, right? Nature hates a vacuum. Like, don't worry. If you've got an opening, somehow you'll mobilize resources to fill it. But I invite you not to be defeatist and say like, "Oh yeah, I don't have enough money now." if you can bring in the business and that client will pay, some people are going to be able to play ball with you more entrepreneurially. What's your reaction? Have you ever tried that?
In terms of them earning a piece of business every time, no, I have not tried that with a VA before.
Yeah, so we do that, by the way, with
Mhm.
a bunch of VAs, sparing you details that are going to be gratuitous and probably very uninteresting to you. Like, we doubled our growth rate because we were paying salaries. And then for a particular role that was helping drive our growth, we offered people a success fee. And the success fee was when they actually completed the project. We got paid when they completed the project. It was a win-win. We weren't vulnerable. We weren't exposed financially, but we have a great reputation out there. So they loved the idea of being able to bring a valuable service to great clients as long as they got paid. And so it's a win-win. Everybody wins. Our clients win, we win, our staff wins, but you've got to create that opening for them to step into.
So, when you say complete a project, what was that in your world?
In this instance, and we've done this in different contexts, it's a staffing assignment. So in
Mhm.
other words, we get an order, right? We're supposed to fill an order. And we had only 12 recruiters. And that's a capacity of, let's just call it X, right? Of 12. We realized that's our constraint. That's what's keeping us at our limit. There's a lot of demand for what we do. We have a bit of a waiting list now. Very exciting, very frustrating. The reason we can't say, yeah, we'll take that order is because we don't have enough recruiters.
Mhm.
Oh, but now we invite the recruiters and say, as soon as you find the right person for that role, boom, payday. And they love it. And some of them can't afford that. And I get that. They need the paycheck this week, but some can't afford it. Does that make sense?
Yes, my last question is, so for that type of role, they only get paid when the project is complete. They're not
Correct.
getting a base salary plus paid when the salary is complete. So
Correct.
that's a really good role for like sales.
It goes way beyond sales.
Well,
Way,
okay.
way beyond sales. Think of it this way. Everyone is a salesperson. Everyone's selling themselves for a price. That price is called a salary. Entrepreneurs defer their pay until they get paid by a client, right? Entrepreneurs cut across every industry. There are people if in every swath of the world, every industry, other than salespeople, who are deferring pay until some milestone. It's unconventional, but if you limit yourself to conventional means, you're going to limit yourself to conventional results. The idea is, what can you do to be different, to stand out, to have unusual results? And you've got to think different,
Right.
right? I mean, fortune favors the resourceful, the scrappy, people who will do what others don't, who don't wait for the rest of the world to do it until they figure out that there's an edge.
Okay. Got it. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and you have a pretty much a zero downside, a bounded downside. The upside is enormous. If it works, it's an opportunity to scale up.
Yeah. I think what I was thinking of more of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is um like commission only sales positions, which is
Yeah.
something I've attempted before, but I've also heard that that's not good. So I'm
I
wondering if it's also equivalent to what you were talking about. Or what?
ironically, it is the most common this arrangement's most common with sales. Sales is the one role I can think of where I would never pursue that. And I say that empirically because I've trained over 1,000 salespeople. I've hired a ton in companies. Decent salespeople simply don't work for commission only. It is an insanely rare exception that they do. Why? Because it's one of the most commodified, universally sought after roles, if not the most, sales. And if you're decent, you're going to be able to command a salary. And even if you're untrained and you're new, but you've got skills, if you're decent, you're gonna get snatched away by someone else. And so it's a very impractical way to build sales for a company, to rely on just commission only salespeople. Very flimsy in my experience.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, for other roles, could be very different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would
Okay.
that model work similar for, say, like an appointment setter?
Appointment
Paying them.
appointment setters or sales.
Okay.
Yeah, it's appointment setting is I'd also say it's a bit industry to industry. So most appointment setters are an unmitigated dumpster fire. Like they're just false promises everywhere.
Yeah.
For some who actually can deliver and do it without a big lift, like they can deliver an appointment each day or a few a day, that could work because they're not deferring pay. They're getting paid daily. But
Okay.
if you're looking for something that's a really hard kind of appointment, don't rely on it. Again, it's a form of sales.
Yeah. Okay. I was just
It's
curious
very
to see.
it's a very liquid market, right? It's like, again, it's that commodity market where if they can do it, that people are paying. Like I've paid a lot of money and still wasn't able to get people who could deliver appointments. If you're doing commission only, good luck. Would not bet on that.
I was just seeking your advice.
Yeah. No, good question. Good question. I don't mean to disparage it, but yeah. Do not for my boat. I can talk about, some things that are on my mind, but maybe it's more helpful if you guys just throw any questions you have, like real stuff, right? Like what's burning, we don't need to limit it to delegating or like, getting freedom in your business. You got a guy who's been around a bunch of businesses. I've seen the edge, like I've coached entrepreneurs through everything, like off the ledge, financial insolvency, marital insolvency, abuse, gambling. Like I've seen everything. I think. And hey, I find even kids are helpful to talk to. So if it's helpful to throw anything out there for me in the group here, why not? You got some collective intelligence across this group. What problems are burning for anyone here? Nothing's off limits.
I have a question. So sales has been like the biggest problem that I've ever had. And so I made a few mistakes in my journey when I started my agency about 4 years ago. One of them was not having a solid pipeline from day one, and kind of nurturing that and working at it. I was just too busy doing the work and didn't pay attention. I was like, okay, I'll get to it. But sales has been my number one kind of weakest, I would say, skill set. And I know as an entrepreneur, that's like really bad. Like if you're starting a business, you have to be at least good at sales. You have to, because that's how your company's going to have some, energy to move forward. So what would you recommend for somebody, for example, either starting new or in my position, for example, 4 years into it, and we've lost a couple clients, and so I'm trying to build that sales pipeline back up. I have never done cold calling. I've done cold outreach, for example, and I'm great with networking with people. I just never spend the time to do it. So, what would you recommend to like kind of get that sales solid for a company? Because I know it's been a pain for me.
Amazing question. Let me throw a few things out that have worked, and you tell me which one resonates the most with you. Thing one is get leverage on yourself they call it like eating a frog. So the thing that's least pleasurable, that's most painful, do that first thing in the day. Do not permit yourself to read the news, to indulge yourself with anything you like to do. Breakfast, workout, servicing accounts, walk the dog, nothing until you do that thing. And you plant a stake in the ground with a commitment of 4 hours or 3 or 2, whatever it is. But then you eat that frog before anything else in the day. That's one approach. And it's devastatingly powerful if you swear by it, if you commit to it and follow through.
Mhm.
A quick reaction to that.
I agree 100%. I can't tell you how many times I've said that to myself. Like, okay, I'm going to go in. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make these calls. I'm going to do this. And then you come and sit down and like, and you see, oh my God, like, why is he doing that? Oh, let me answer that. Like, so you start getting distracted because I literally have like 25 tabs open right now. So I know
You don't, because everyone here gets it. That is the world we live in as entrepreneurs, especially. Do you have the intestinal fortitude? Not everyone does, and that's not a stain on them. It's just like ADHD or whatever. Do you have what it takes to do that?
I have the discipline. That's for sure. I'm a early riser. I can. My biggest pain point, like sales, when it comes to like, for example, cold calling. Like I really don't enjoy that. Nobody enjoys it, but I feel like I'm intruding. So it's a mindset for me to think of differently instead of thinking, for example, and I'm trying to train myself to think this way. Instead of thinking like I'm asking them something on a phone call, like I'm interrupting you. And think of it as I am here to provide a service for you to make your business better. So I'm here to help you. Instead of you give me, I'm here to give you, right? And that I think will help me to kind of get over that and just bite the bullet and sit down for 4 hours or 2 hours of cold calling, 2 hours of or an hour of content creation, and another hour of email reach out, whatever.
Let me jump in because we're in the final minute here.
I know. Sorry.
So I love what you're sharing, and it's how I lived much of my sales life, and I love it because it's so wrong, and there's so much opportunity if you flip it. Here's what I mean.
Hmm.
The paradigm you articulated is what many will call what some would call scattergun, right? You just spray and pray. You throw calls out and hey, and you're working with your mind in order to resourcefully approach the calls, right? Good on that, but bad on the strategy. Instead of scattergun, think about taking a high-powered telescopic rifle, setting your sight. What does that practically mean? It's high probability selling. It means you're spending the vast majority of your time actually qualifying a prospect until you discipline and hone that definition so well that you are forced to figure out where you create epic value. So much so that it's hard for the right client, the right prospect to say no. So what are you amazing at? Maybe it's restaurants. Maybe it's generating foot traffic locally. Maybe it's for events and catering businesses for restaurant. Like people could just happen to have success with different niches. So figure that out and then find those people. Do the extra legwork to identify those prospects. Do the extra work up front to learn about them. Do the extra work to articulate your understanding of them and why you are God's gift to the world for them. And then bring that to them. And you'll have a level of conviction and clarity. This is an academic. We have multiple people that we've placed with agencies. They're larger agencies. Agencies are paying decent money for people we place, and I'll give you their strategy because it's so freaking effective. It's what I just shared with you, high level. That's the approach, and then they find these people, and customarily on LinkedIn, they're going to write a very thoughtful letter. They're going to get their email. They're going to write an email. They're going to find their phone number and they're going to call them. They're going to take this, whatever, call it what you will, this multi-pronged approach, and they're going to make it very hard for this person to ignore them because they're going to follow up. And the person will see that they mean business. High probability selling is what I'd call that. If it sounds to me like you're less inclined toward like smiling and dialing, but you are disciplined, thoughtful. It sounds like you're quite smart and you've got experience. 4 years is nothing to sneeze at. Now it's like, how do you channel that? Well, maybe it's fewer calls, but where you're earnest, right? Your sincerity does seem to come through. And so that's a great asset when you're communicating on the phone, right? People think that, I don't know.
We're out for a sale.
Not
We don't care about your outcome.
Yeah, they think that people don't see their motives. Like, it's one of the greatest misassumptions on planet Earth. Babies know you're full of shit when you are like, we're so transparent, even when we think we're not. And so if you bring your sincerity, conviction, and value into a call, I think it will come through. Instead of like trying to trick your mind or like really play with different ideas, go with something that's legit and go hard. Like,
Awesome.
you're not a dilettante, you're a professional. And I think the idea is now like act like it, right? Like step up and mean business when you reach out. Yeah. All right. Maybe one more, maybe not. Anything else, gang? Any fires burning? Any embers? Anything?
I just had a general question about your company in terms of, well, it's kind of like a two-parter. One is in the VA landscape today, what do you see as like a good amount to pay a VA? I'm noticing like 11, 12, 14,
What
15 kind of
what are
going
you
up there.
what are you looking for? What kinds of skills?
So mainly more so in the automation space, they have to be really good with certain software out there like ClickUp, project management capacities, being able to multitask, social media management, email marketing management, those kind of things. Really good with documents,
Okay.
design, that kind of
Gotcha.
thing.
Okay. So if you're going to look for an A player in that realm, you're going to pay 13, give or take $1.50. And you're going to find someone, if you're looking hardcore, like hardcore, you're going to find someone in 6 weeks. If you compromise your standards, you can find someone in a week, like, or less. The big variable is the quality of the person. And when I say quality, I mean their initiative, their attention to detail, their accountability, their durability, as opposed to someone who ghosts you and just jumps into something else.
Hmm.
Those qualities are much more discoverable if you give yourself time and you invest yourself in the search. But they change the game. They've changed my life. They've changed our clients' lives. People literally cry on the phone with us. It's freaking weird, but it's amazing. That's the level you can achieve if you really take that seriously. If you give yourself time and don't just, you know, shake a stick at it and you're like, all right, yeah, I'll go with you. Why not?
Yeah, yeah. So they're like 13 to 15, I think is what you're saying.
1150 is discoverable if you're like hardcore frugal and you're giving it like a good 6 weeks of intense search. Again, these variables all kind of work together.
Yeah.
So it's a function of time, of money, of quality. But an A player is going to be discoverable if you're searching in earnest within 4 to 6 weeks, give or take $1.50 of that $13 mark. We've found A players in that realm.
Okay.
Yeah. And like hardcore A players. Like they got paid that. And then our client would like fly them first class to like conferences to like help represent them. Like the
Mhm.
ticket and the hotel costs more than their salary from the last 2 months. Like, yeah, I mean,
Right.
there's a real opportunity if you search well.
Okay.
Okay, my friends.
Thank you.
I don't know if you had fun. I had fun. This was what's more fun than talking shop and how to build, getting rid of our stresses, delegating them to other people, and offloading this stuff. Marty, thanks for setting this up. Ken,
First,
I don't
thank
know
you.
where- but
And Ken's left.
Marty,
Josh, as always, thank you so much, man. It's been great.
my pleasure. Send my best. Send a hug to the newer gang, and I
will, I
really
will.
enjoy getting some of your curiosities. And man, what did Elon say? Elon Musk said starting a business is like chewing on 10,000 shards of broken glass. But man,
Yeah.
nothing more exhilarating. You guys, we did not sign up for the easy life, but the rewards. He who takes risks drinks the champagne. Great reward. So stick with it. Let me know if I can help along the journey. Awesome spending time with you guys.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.
Thank
Guys,
you
thank you so
so
much.
much.
Marty.
Bye bye.